I'm going to go with some betting strategy here. I like Diamond Driller as well. I'm going to firstly assume that Desert Code is not the same racehorse as last year. That's where the strategy begins. And then from there on out, you pick Diamond Driller to win. I think you play her. She's going to be a decent price. I don't think she's going to get bet down too much at post time. And then other horses to consider in here are the 1, I think, Noble Court, the 3 California Flag, and the 14 on the outside, who mustn't be forgotten. Delta Storm was run very close behind California Flag. Use those in the exact box.
Outside post on this configuration, good place to be, right?
Yeah, very good place can be. It can be an advantage over that inside post. Absolutely, Greg. Paul?
I tell you right, I like that pick at Delta Storm. That's my long shot play. But you guys are all forgetting about Richard Mandela. Do you remember 4 Breeders' Cups wins here in 2003? Took over the training for Lord Chanticleer, and I've heard from many people that this horse is training very, very well. I think this horse is going to get off maybe 6-7 to 1 and go for a price. I originally had Diamond Driller. I think you'll get a better price with Lord Chanticleer, but I think you guys are on the right mare to beat in Diamond Driller.
All right, well, maybe some have forgot Richard Mandela. No one has forgot Bob Baffert in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He's won this race back-to-back years. He's going to try and win it and become just the second trainer to win a race 3 years in a row. Well, more than that in a moment. And of course, he won it with Midnight Lute last couple of years. Zensational, 7-5. I guess let's start with the post positions here in Zensational on the inside. You have 3 speed horses all right next to each other.
You know, that's a very good point that you bring up there, because here's what I think is going to happen. I've watched Sensational's races, and he's not a fast horse out of the gate. He gets going after about 50 yards or so, but you've got the 2 Cost of Freedom and the 3 Fatal Bullet that are right next to the other speed horses. They know their only chance to win is to try to get over and get in front of Zensational, and believe me, that's the tactics that are going to be employed here. They're going to try to get in front of Sensational very, very early before he uses his speed to gain his position, and if they do that, Sensational is through.
I think this is a key backtrack, Simon, because look, when he makes a turn, Sensational, there's nobody there to pressure him. This is going to be the first time in his life where somebody's going to be right off his flank. He's not going to be 5 or 6 lengths clear like he's been in most of his races out here.
That's exactly right. I mean, he has dominated the West Coast division, and the trouble is, it's him and then everybody else. The one problem he has, unfortunately, for a sprinter that's so good, is getting out of the starting gate, and that's going to be a huge issue here at this level of competition with those 2 speed horses to his outside. So I think he's got to overcome a couple of hurdles. One, being tackled in the eye for the first time, and secondly, getting out of the starting gate. There was actually a moan around the post position draw when this horse drew post position 1, because everybody knew the consequences and what would happen with Zensational in the 1 hole.
All right, look at those last 2 races too, and yeah, he did dominate grade 1s. They were 5-horse fields.
Right, and beating up on the same horses. I mean, talking to Mumru, who's that?
But the whole thing is, I mean, he's never been looked in the eye, ever. Yeah. So he's going to get the class test. So to me, Fatal Bullet, Cost of Freedom's a pretty darn fast horse as well, but Fatal Bullet is going to be right on his flank, and I think he can put all the pressure on Sensational. We're going to find out what Sensational's made of tomorrow, definitely.
Sensational, the most vulnerable favorite that runs tomorrow, in my opinion.
I agree.
Well, let's go back to Fatal Bullet for a moment, and a horse who just is an absolutely different horse on a synthetic racetrack.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on that in the work show, Tom. He's got a funny way of going, and we don't know whether that's, you know, the synthetic surface is attributed to his victory with the way he hits the ground. Remember, he only cost $27,000, so he's probably not an attractive-looking young horse. But the bottom line is he gets the job done. He's 9 for 14 lifetime. But again, he's probably not happy with his post position either, although I guess if Reed Baker had a choice out of 1, 2, 3, he picked the best one there.
Well, if he knew all the speed was going to be inside of him, which is what he has, I think he'd be very delighted with the 3-hole. But, you know, we need to ask if Fatal Bullet's the same horse as last year. He's only had 3 starts since last year's Breeders' Cup. You know, he won the Phoenix at Keeneland. But since he's come to this track, Simon, and we've watched his works, and we've compared him to the works last year, I don't see the same horse. I see a horse that's tending to drift out a little bit down the lane. I'm going to look elsewhere.
Yeah, no question. When we previewed his work earlier this week, he was clearly getting out. There was more slack in the right-hand rein, suggesting that he was bearing out into the center of the track. That's not always a positive. He does run with a visor. He wears a set of goggles. Whether that makes a difference, I'm not sure, but he's a very, very quick racehorse.
And, Paul, we saw that graphic. I mean, he's just an absolute different animal on synthetic. 9 wins, 2 seconds. His 11 starts on synthetics. People started, I think, back away from him and say, is he gone? Is he over now after that Vanderbilt run? That was on dirt. He came back and he proved he's still good in the Phoenix.
Yeah, he's eerily similar to Informed Decision. Informed Decision, we talked about this yesterday, 6 for 6 on the synthetic, now 7 for 7. This horse is 9 for 11 with 2 seconds. He wasn't training that good coming in the Breeders' Cup last year and still ran a bang-up race. I have to agree a little bit with Tom. I don't think he's the same horse, but I wouldn't be surprised if he puts a lot of pressure on Zensational, hangs around. You think of his race last year, he ran huge to hang around for second place. Midnight Loot was obviously a monster, but they went very fast early. This horse has got a lot of heart.
Well, all that speed inside. Godolphin did not have a big opening day. Gyeo looked great in the Ancient Title. What do you think about his horse, who could get the perfect trip coming from off the pace, Simon?
That's exactly right. I'm glad we picked up the discussion on Gyeo here after we've talked about a couple of speedsters, because that's exactly what's going to happen. He's got Cost of Freedom to his inside, Zensational, and Fatal Bullet. The setup could be absolutely perfect for Gyeo, a horse that is ridden, a perfect fit for jockey Garrett Gomez with that off-the-pace style. Very visually impressive here, Tom. I know you liked his works, you liked this race. Again, you have to question who he's beating here, but that's not his fault. The way he explodes the last eighth of a mile, considering he's only got one horse beat here, turning for home, is very, very impressive indeed.
Well, I think that's where his success lies. We talked about Sensational. He's a speed horse. Fatal Bullet, he's a speed horse. Cost of Freedom is a speed horse. Those horses are going to go out there. The pace is going to be very hot. Look how easy he wins that race. He's in hand at the end of the race. It sets up for a closer, and I think it sets up for Gyeo.
I mean, I just want to say quick, you compare this race to the Philly version today, where Garrett Gomez was aboard Ventura. He was out the back. You expect the same scenario, but the pace wasn't quick. 23 there. I expect to see a 22, 21 and change opening quarter here. The result will be very different.
And he just won that prep on this racetrack coming into this one, so that's big too. Let's bring in Tony Calvin. Tony, we have not talked about Fleeting Spirit in this race, and Phillies traditionally have had very good success going up against the boys in the sprint.
Well, Fleeting Spirit's arguably the most consistent top-class sprinter in Europe. Won the July Cup, has run a whole host of good races, including when second in the Abbey last time. We had Betfair had a Breeders' Cup lunch 3 weeks ago, and one of the owners of Fleeting Spirit were at the lunch there, and he thinks the 2-week extra break this year from the Abbey will suit her very well. She's only a pound off top rated. It's Zensational here on time form ratings, yet she's trading around about the 12-1 mark in Europe. So I think strictly on form, I think she's overpriced. I'm going to make a big call here, guys. I reckon Gyeo will go off favourite here over Zensational. In Europe, it's on Betfair at the moment. It's 2-1 Zensational, 5-2 Gyeo. They could converge in prices, and I reckon Gyeo could well go off favourite, if only in the UK.
Gentlemen, what do you think about that, Tom?
Well, that's a stamp of endorsement for the horse I like, Gyeo. There's probably, Simon, 3 or 4 horses we watched on the work show that stood out to us. One of those ran today, and that was Tappett's Fly. Another was Gyeo. Gyeo stood out on the work show as a horse that really was coming in this race the right way. I like the way this race sets up for him. I like the amount of pace in this race. I look for a closer to win it. It's right up Gallego's alley.
I'll go with Zensational. After knocking this horse for the last 3 or 4 minutes, I believe good horses can overcome anything, and I think Zensational will. I've seen him break slow a couple of times. I think he's the fastest racehorse in this race, period, and he gets in the winner's circle.
You got to talk to your boy here, Paul.
I think you chuck Zensational. I think Gyeo is the winner. I think Godolphin Blue will get their first winner in this Breeders' Cup with Gyeo. He just showed me this turn of foot is unbelievable. And this horse has got a little speed. It laid a little far back. I think you should chuck all the 3 speed horses and go with Gyeo. Maybe Crown of Thorns, who ran second last time. Nice horse coming off a layoff. 2 starts, might be better in his 3rd start. And I think Fleeting Spirit is the one price that might be coming late. I'm hoping that Zensational, Fatal Bullet, and Cost of Freedom, they duel on the lead. You get the 3 horses that are coming. If you want to throw in another one for a super effective, maybe Captain Candyman.
Yeah, I agree with that. Very good point there.
I thought you guys might be surprised what Tony said, that Zensational won't be favored. It sounds like you agree.
No, Sensational's going to be favorite here in the U.S.
Oh, no doubt about it.
No doubt about that. In the UK, I think...
I don't know.
Really?
I bet you, the way Gyeo run, they send it in, so you never know. Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think it'll be close.
I'll make a gentleman's bet with you on that.
All right.
Sensational's going to be the favorite.
I think so.
Yeah.
In the UK,
wagers during the break.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we are going to step aside. We're going to take a little time out. We will pick things back up with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but we also have some other big news. Paul LaDuca suiting up and back in action, making his street hockey debut.
Oh, I thought he was a Major League umpire in that black outfit.
It's no joke.
We'll find out next.
I'm the next Patrick Waugh.